everybody, Steve here for Who Took My Dice, and welcome back to another White Dwarf Blast from the Past. We're looking at an old White Dwarf here from the golden era of 2006. See there, it's actually the 7th White Dwarf, 7th December 2006. I know it's weird. This was actually during a cool time where every country had its own White Dwarf. So a lot of the articles inside were the same. There was a ton of, well, in this instance, Canadian content in terms of who was sort of presenting stuff, what stores were mentioned, stuff like that. So it's cool. Massive battle report. The Dark Elves besiege a Bretonian fortress. There's some cool stuff there. Lord of the Rings, the Haradrim take on Khan, and complete narrative campaign for Warhammer 40,000. So that, without further ado, let's dive into it. First off, what was coming out in December of 2006? Well, the Eldar. This is when we got the plastic Wraith Lord, the now replaced metal Banshees, Fire Dragons, Swooping Hawks, an Eldar Autarch with fusion gun. Very cool models. Much needed back in 2006, much as a lot of these models now to be replaced again nowadays. Of course, we had some hobby accessories, some cool large model custom trays, one for just for, infantry, cavalry. The other one for things for like large models like tanks. Some cool binders to keep your stuff in. The Warhammer 40,000 vehicle damage dice. This was back in, oh god, I want to say 5th edition. No wounds on vehicles. You actually had a damage chart, and of course the hero basing kit to make those bases epic for your heroes. And then of course the Empire was coming out. This is a time when there was some big change coming to Warhammer Fantasy. Lots of new models for the Empire, new spearmen and archers, bowmen, handgunners, the whole shebang. The only metal model was this Bright Wizard. It was a fantastic model. I actually have that somewhere. I gotta find that. Lots of cool stuff for the Empire. Of course, Black Library. Lots of cool stuff there. The Soldier Omnibus. And Forge World, yes, the Death Corps of Krieg. That was a big deal back in the day. They're no longer there anymore. Obviously, they've been replaced as Forge World has changed its what it makes now. And of course, the Ruin of Arnor, which is a big add-on for Lord of the Rings back in the day. Where we got to see the Rangers of Middle-earth, the Warriors of Arnor, a kingdom that fell long ago. And of course, they even had Arathorn, son of Aragorn there, Halbrand, and a cool troll character as well. Some really cool stuff. You got to basically pay through the fall of the Kingdom of Arnor, the Kingdom of the North, the twin to the Kingdom of Gondor, way back in the day. And here's some of that cool Canadian stuff. A whole bunch of people there that worked at the Canadian head office, letters to the Huckish, and of course people like Corey Burns. We won't talk about him. But yeah, cool stuff, like Battle Bunker tournaments, right? All the different things. Battle Bunker, if you don't know, was a cool thing where you could actually purchase gaming tables for a bit. That way you could be in there without being interrupted by people. Lots of cool stuff there. And of course, Conflict Tournament Windsor. All right, and just sort of showed you where things were going on in terms of Canada. Lots of cool stuff there. And this one I want to show, again, the release schedule, right? What was coming stuff out. December 7th. A bunch of Eldar stuff there. That's a cool thing. It was actually released. This is a really cool look at the old release schedules. Instead of everything coming out sort of on the same day, it was released over the month, right? Lots of different boxes. Goblin Boss on Wolf back in November. Next month. Lots of cool stuff there. I know everybody's seen that video of Land Raider that shoots fire, all right? Well, this is, and that one was a small, normal-sized Land Raider that someone's automated. This is actually a larger one someone built back in the day. It had lights. It could, I believe, move the all the turrets and, of course, move. But yeah, lots of cool stuff there. Look at Welcome to Wargaming. This is an article they did about just sort of trying to introduce new people. Collect, paint, and game, which was a way they used to say it. Build, paint, and play sounds so much better. just a rundown of what everything is, the different things. I think we all can understand this. You collect the army, you paint it up, and you game. Cool Warhammer fantasy, the game of fantasy battles. Got some Bretonnian knights, knight goblins there as a regiment. A lovely army general there, orc war boss. And of course, a fully assembled model. And what I like the fact is we're actually be seeing this again very soon with the old world game. That's really cool. And of course, a nice listing: beasts of chaos, hordes of chaos, high elves, dark elves, wood elves, ogre kingdom, dwarves, the empire, Bretonnia, Skaven, orcs and goblins, tomb kings, and vampire counts. I know we've all seen some of those will be featured in the narrative of the new game. Some of them will be getting lists, but sort of sitting this one out for a while. And hopefully in the fullness of time that changes. Of course, Warhammer 40,000. Some cool battlefield terrain there. That's some of the old modular terrain from way back in the day. Classic Space Marines and some fantastic artwork there of a Chaos Warrior. Lots of cool stuff. And around it all, of course, Lord of the Rings. Alright, different battles and all that. Very cool. Journey supplements, Legions of Middle Earth, source books, all the cool stuff that you could get to get yourself a nice army going for Lord of the Rings. Nice little introduction. And of course, then we go on to the big battle report, the Siege of Anguilla. This is really cool. A battle report between the noble Bretonnians and the evil Dark Elves. Very cool. That's actually the old fortress that they had for fantasy. You got the gate here, 4 of these battlements here, and a bunch of wall pieces that go in between. Very cool. And one of the old siege towers you could get. This is actually a pretty cool battle. A bunch of nice special rules there for moving within the castle, moving the siege tower. And of course we have the Bretonnian general, Lord Baldwin Beastslayer. See the old stat line there: movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, wounds, initiative, attack, leadership. A lot that's gone now for our fantasy version. You'll do notice there's no armor save. And that is because armor was dependent on what you're wearing and what you had. So you use heavy armor, which I believe was a 5 or 4 plus armor save, maybe 5 plus, I could be wrong. Shield and the Sword of Heroes. I can't remember what version of this. Now, he could have had anywhere from a 3 plus or 4 plus armor save, depending on, I can't remember exactly the values, but basically if he had heavy armor, would be, say, a 4 plus armor save. You have a shield, it's 3 plus armor save. Now, Sword of Heroes might be a magic item, and depending on the version, either you could or could not use that as a hand weapon shield to give yourself even better armor save. All right. I'm not sure what the Virtue of Empathy and the Falconhorn of Fredmund did back then, but you can see in a nice setup here. I always liked this version of the battle report where you could see the whole battlefield, and they kind of colored it in for you so you knew what was going on. And there's the Grand Alliance. See the Green Knight there, who we all know. Spoiler alert, in the end times actually was Jules de Breton, the very first king of the Bretonnians. Lots of wood elves there to help out. And a nice army. Bretonnians, you've got Grail Knights over here, and lots of your Grail Reliquae up there. Trebuchets, Men-at-Arms, your Archers, your Pegasus Knights, Grail Knights. Very cool stuff. And of course the Twisted Army, the Black Ark Reavers. Whole tons of dark elves there, cold ones. Some lords on their big dragons, or I believe those were, what were those called? I believe they are on, are those the Beastmasters? I can't remember. I can't remember now. But yeah, lots of cool stuff. Corsairs, Assassins. It's cool as Assassins can actually hide in units and leap out. Of course, you see all the, and down here we can see the disbursement of all the different forces. It's actually a very cool battle. And as much as they try and defend, eventually in the end, all this darkness, the Dark Elves penetrate the fortress, kill off the hero, kill some of the damsels, the magic users, And despite the high elf or the wood elves helping in the Green Knight, it's just not enough. In the end, the evil forces of the Dark Eldar win. And some Hydra there that did a ton of damage. And of course, then we have Iron Will, Iron Blood. This is cool. This was a narrative campaign for Warhammer 40,000. You can see the Black Templar there arrayed against the forces of the Eldari, or the Eldar as they were simply called then. I love this, a nice breakdown of the planet fighting over Lilia Mundi, a feral world. I always love these pictures here where they kind of try to bring you into the game by showing you pics of the fortresses, and right? So playing the Lilia Mundi incursion, you could have, it was a big campaign. It's far simpler than all the campaign stuff they've been giving us lately. I was basically just tying some games together to build to a crescendo in the final battle. So you start off with a kill team up here. Now this is different than the kill teams we know now, where team against team. This was sort of more of a Saving Private Ryan type thing, where you had a unit of elite warriors who were on their way to, you would fight your way through small hordes of your enemy, small little groups of, and varying sized of brutes. Not brutes, sorry. The brute was the leader, but just rabble, basically troop choices. Then you would go to a combat troll, full-on mission, a couple missions here. These would all be standard missions: recon mission, rear guard, cleanse mission, sabotage. Basically, you would go from larger and larger games, right? This is between 500 and 1,000, and up to 1,000 points, 1,000 to 1,500. 1,500. You also had Battlefleet Gothic, right, where you could actually have the Space Marines forging through in their battle barges to fight through the Eldari lines. And of course, they had a final mission here, and this shows you the terrain and all that, and of course the scenario here, right, up to at least 1,500 points, but more the better. Obviously, you're a big battle between the defenders here, the Black Templars, and the Eldar, and you actually have Space Marine reinforcements on the way. It's basically holding out to the very last. And of course, we've got the different forces here. Some really cool models here for the Eldar, as they were known back then, right? Including some of the newer models. And of course, the Black Templars, right, back in the day, including the nice heavy metal Venerable Dreadnought. You could hurt some of that if you put it in a sock. That's all I'm going to say. Crusader squads and neophytes, your Emperor's Champion, your Reclusiarch. Very, very cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. Move on to the Serpent Strikes, a cool battle between sort of a what-if scenario if Harad decided to take on the Khandish warriors, two forces that were under the command of Sauron. So you have the Khand here, which are very Mongolian in their look, lots of horses, lots of chariots, and of course the Harad, which are, we saw them on top of their Mumaks, very Eastern, Oriental, not Oriental, sorry. Not sure the word I'm looking for here, but yeah, the Soldana, so, maybe more Egyptian inspired, correct me if I'm wrong. Some cool scenarios where you're trying to fight a war between Suladan and the Khandish warriors there. And of course, some really cool handmade terrain there. Some other battles here. And of course, at the end, they show you how to build these things. And this is not something they do anymore very much because of all the terrain they've built. They put on sale, but a great way of showing you how to build this massive setup here, all the steps they've gone through and the textures, top tips, and finishing it off. And I always love this, it looks like a little bit of a what was it, some sort of fruit cup there as part of their design. And of course the finished fortress there and all the cool colors they used on there, all the base colors and how they worked it up. Very, very cool stuff. They don't really do this anymore. It's unfortunate because I think this was a great part of the hobby that I hope they start maybe focusing on a bit more. Obviously that would cut in their bottom line, but hey. This part, because this is some of the games back in the day. Warhammer Mark of Chaos, a real-time strategy game that was big back then. This is well before Games Workshop sold their IP off to pretty much anybody. For every Space Marine or game, Bolt Gun, and Dawn of War, we've had a bunch of other stinkers. I'm not sure how well this one did. It was cool. You can see the forces of the Empire there facing off of Chaos, and playable, you had Empire, Chaos, Skaven, High Elves, Orcs, Goblins, Dwarves, and Vampire counts. See the battles here. Greater Demon leading his Marauders there. High Elves facing off against Orcs and Goblins. Very cool stuff. Those games are always a bit fun. I've never played this one myself. Don't really feel like I missed out though. There's lots of games like it over the years. And these are the Golden Demon entries from those years. This one from Germany here. Orion. This one was really cool. A Blood Pact. Now, if you've read the Gaunt's Ghost series, you know who the Blood Pact are. They are a nasty, well-trained, heretic Imperial Guard force. Very nasty. A big thorn in the side of the Imperial Crusade. Really, really nasty. We've got a converted Space Marine here. That looks cool. Love the big axe. And here, this is a cool one. This is Eisenhorn. Now, if you recognize this model, the new one is somewhat based on this. Well, somewhat. It's really based on. This is from the old 54mm Inquisitor range. It was its own game with huge models where you were basically taking on the role of Inquisitors, other characters. There were Space Marines and a whole bunch of different things fighting in a more RPG-ish sort of game. Lots of different rules. It was a great game. A bit more complicated, but a lot of fun. Of course, we have the Fellowship there. That looks pretty cool. She was a Slayer Sword winner too, whoever this may be. Of course, you have some fantastic Black Templars. The Wood Elf Lord there. That's pretty cool. Love those antlers. And some blah 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 Beastmen there. Zinchian Beastmen. And this amazingly well put together, well painted Orc War Boss. Very, very cool. Cool article they had from time to time. Tactica. Always say they did it for a bunch of different games there. Shooting, magic, psychology, different parts, arming selection, using infantry, spellcasters, close combat, city fighting. This one was a big one. Deployment. Back in the days of Warhammer Fantasy, deployment, if you did it badly, you almost guaranteed you were going to lose. If you did it properly, it would be a balanced game. Deployment was massive, right? Everything from deploying cheaper units first, deploy deeper, get out of the way, don't rush, deploy your character wisely. Deployment was huge. If you screw up deployment, you could lose yourself the game. And they show you a bunch of different classic ones here. The castles was big for dwarves. Dwarves didn't have a lot of models and they were slow. So you'd put up a defense like this where you made the enemy come to you. Basically, especially if your army set up that way, you basically cut some of their army out for the game. They'd have to wheel around to get to you. The refused flank, very cool. Another one where you put fast units one end, the rest of your army other. And again, your enemy has to sort of wheel around towards you. Your fast units can start wearing them down. It's pretty cool. It shows you how it works. And of course, the hard centers where you put your elites in the middle and put your skirmishers and your fast stuff on the edges. This is a big classic one. A lot of people did the hard castle, right? Again, deployment was huge back in the day. It could screw you over in horrible ways if you didn't do it properly. It was bad. Another cool one. They showed you the assembly of some of the new models. So here we have the Eldar Walker. So we have the Wraith Lord here, built up. All the different parts. The basic assembly with all the names of everything down the list here. All different parts you can put together in these things. Also, your War Walkers here, again, broken down with all the different weapons, all the different parts. Very cool. I remember when this came out. It was a big deal. We had a lot of very, very happy Eldar players when this happened. That was cool. Lots of fun. And of course the weapons that they use. Those old stat lines of Bright Lance, Range 36, Strength 8, AP 2, Heavy 1 Lance. Now, if you guys have only come in, for those of you who only come in, you know, since 8th, and you see the AP 2, basically back in the day, instead of just it being a minus, like you -1, basically it worked if your AP of a weapon matched or was better than the armor save of a model, that model didn't get an armor save. So if you had a bolter that was strength 4, AP 5, any model that the bolter was shooting at that had a 5+ or 6+ armor save just didn't get a save. So AP 2 was meant like Terminators wouldn't get a save against that. Star Cannon again, AP 2, Heavy 2, it's Heavy 2 heavy shots. Right, the Elder Missile Launcher again, AP 3, AP 4, Heavy 1 Blast. That's when we use the little templates. You actually put the template on top of the models to see what it hit. Lots of cool stuff there. Yes, and then of course Painting Workshop. This one is about film referencing for Boromir, right? They want to get a model to match what Boromir looked like in the Fellowship of the Ring. So the steps they went through to get, you know, the basic colors right, and all the little details like the sleeves, the Horn of Gondor, all that stuff to kind of get him looking like he did in the movie. That's important, especially for something like Lord of the Rings, when these models are supposed to be based off the actual actors playing. You kind of want to get it right. I always felt that way anyways. You always want to sort of get them looking like they were supposed to. It's a great little set here, and of course they gave you a rundown of the color guide. So you had your base color, your wash, and your highlights there for the clothing, the gloves and belt, the hair. It even got the basing down here, right? So lots of cool stuff there. One, make your move. This is one where they challenged you. They gave you a rundown of what you were going to be, what was happening, and your challenge was, like here, the Tau of the Imperial Guard up against the wall but are faced with a tricky situation. The Imperial Guard have 4 scoring units within 12 inches of a board edge. If only one of these units stays in place and survives the turn, the game is theirs. You as a Tau player must find a way to remove all 4 units from the scoring zone. Is beginning the Tau player's turn. What is your move? And it gives you what they have, right? Which the Tau have, what the Imperial Guard have, and it says the Tau must break through. The next move is yours. What will you do? And then you would send your solution in, and then of course this one has the solution from the battle beforehand. And color theory, this is a cool one. Basically, this one is actually focusing on orange. The different coloring system you could do with orange, how to work with this particular orange color. Blazing orange is what they chose. And of course, orange on different bases and highlights and stuff like that. Very, very cool stuff. And of course, they show some of the orange stuff down here and what you can do with it, including even using it to highlight rusted machines, the different stuff there. Cool articles. I always like this. Make you think and taught you a little something about color. Say there were some other Canadian articles. This one is Great Canadian Armies, a Treadhead. This individual who's built a Trader's Imperial Guard army around some really cool models. He's got a Trader Commissar leading in his Lehman Russ, a Salamander command vehicle. Well, things you can't get anymore, unfortunately. You got different Lehman Russes here, a Basilisk, bunch of different stuff. Cool table there that they're moving down on. I always did love these handmade tables. There's just something about them. They're much more unique, to me anyways, than the tables built with all the same scenery that you see everywhere else. There's only so many builds. This is all hand-built, handcrafted stuff for the most part. Very cool stuff. And I like this one. This is direct service. This is the old school way. We talked about this one with Epic in a video a while ago, but this is War Master. And this is the fantasy version, I talked about this, of Epic. So you see everything is much smaller. But you have your orcs and goblins, you have characters, your giants, which weren't that very giants, very, very small stuff. And of course the Empire. You've got the Empire characters there, your volley guns, your knights, your swordsmen, your crossbowmen, handgunners, flagellants, all this cool stuff. And of course, how you were to direct order all this stuff. Again, at this point, there wasn't much of a store at this point, the web store. It was there, but it was much different. And of course, subscribe. And next month, the Empire. Of course, other stuff, Prince Heroes, Eldar Corsairs, and Guide to the Elves of the Grey Havens. Right, new miniatures. Basically, it was a different time. Of course, in the back, the Empire next month. The great swordsman there. Very cool stuff. You thought you wouldn't see me. Well, thank you guys for watching that. Hope that was a cool either walk through memories or maybe discovery of what came before. White Dwarf was a much different beast than it was now. It's gotten a lot better over the last few years. There was time there where it was, in my opinion, absolute trash. But these are the cool times where they're trying to put stuff out there to make you enjoy the hobby. Building old buildings, showcasing armies, lots of cool stuff. I mean, they still do that. And maybe it's my bias. That was the time when I was really heavily into the White Dwarf. It was actually a few years before I started. Actually, it was just right before I started working for Games Workshop too. So it was a different time for me too. But thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, we'll see you later. Keep rolling those dice. Bye.